Greetings, everyone. We are going to be starting what I didn't know almost killed me in about 9 minutes. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Kenya.
Walaikum salam.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
1 second. Sister Anissa's calling me. Hold on.
Okay.
Why is it not? Okay. Okay, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
She's trying to log on now. She was having trouble, so she's restarting her computer because it told her when she was trying to click the panelist link that she needs to try again, maybe restart it. So she's restarting it now to try to log on.
Oh, okay. I guess Sister Lisa must be okay.
Yeah, I can call her though just to double check. Let me call
Okay,
her.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, Sister Lisa's getting on now too.
Okay. All right. Kenya,
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to, as we're talking, if you feel like chiming in and you want to ask a question, don't
Mhm.
hesitate because we want to make it organic. I want them to be able to flow. I really
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
script them, too much.
Yes, ma'am. Got you. Yes, but I will say though, when y'all were talking last time, how you did that was great. Like the way that you just kind of made it a conversation, like you're
Right,
saying you
right.
don't want it to be too scripted, but that Sister Anissa, I could tell she like likes flow like that, and the person's Elisa too. So how y'all did it before, it was
Yeah.
great. And actually, I was gonna say, but y'all ended up getting off because Sister Lisa had to go. But I was like I was touched as y'all were talking. The things that y'all were talking about, it was like very powerful. Even me just hearing y'all talk about it then. So I know it's gonna be good for everybody to hear.
Praise be to Allah. That's beautiful, Sister Kenya. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Soldier.
Malaikum salam. I think I'm getting nervous, Side. I'm starting to cough. I ain't coughed all day.
Oh Lord, did you take the vitamins I gave you?
I did, but I gotta get it together here. I'm about to put my phone on do not disturb. So unless it's y'all, I'm not gonna get no calls.
Yeah, I understand. When I do my shows, everybody be texting and calling me. I'll be like, I don't know why they think I can answer
Yes, and it looks like people are joining now. Actually.
them. People are
Mhm.
joining, and welcome everyone. We're going to be starting in about 3 minutes. We're just waiting on our final panelists. We're going to start up. Lisa, you look pretty. You pulled out the royal purple, huh?
I had the whole black thing going, and I thought about you. I said, okay, so we're gonna tone it down and just do gray.
Yeah.
Then I had silver, and I said, well, maybe I do a different color.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies.
Wa alaikum
Walaikum
salam.
salam, yeah.
Unfortunately, I cannot, I'm on my phone because it won't allow me in through my laptop.
Okay, you're fine. If you're fine with that, we're fine with it.
Well, I don't have a choice right now but to be
Oh,
fine with it.
Turn it the other way.
You two look beautiful.
Praise be
you
to
look beautiful. I would say, can you bring your phone up just a little bit?
And
Uh,
and if she turns it the other way, you won't even tell that she's on the phone. If she
okay.
can't. Right.
There you go. Yeah, that's perfect. Uh-oh. You had it right the first time. There,
Right.
right there. Right there.
Yeah, I had to rotate. Okay.
All right. So what I'm
That
going to
red
do.
suits you, Sister Wendy.
Oh, thank you. Praise be to Allah. What we're going to do is I'm going to just start with a song while everybody's coming in. I'll come back and then open and then we'll just go from there. Okay? Whatever. I'm ready. I'm starting the
Yes,
song.
ma'am.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Jamil. Can y'all hear this song? Nobody can hear the song, Kenya?
No, ma'am, not really.
Oh, I'm
It's
just
like
sitting here jamming
very,
by myself then. I may as well just stop it then.
it's very faint in the background.
It's okay. It's all right. Zoom has a mind of its own sometimes. So what we're going to do is we are going to just start, and welcome to our symposium called What I Didn't Know Almost Killed Me. I am your host and conversationalist, Sister Sajida Wendy Muhammad. For those of you who are not familiar oftentimes with how we do things in the Nation of Islam, or those of us that are Muslims, a lot of times when we present at gatherings, we begin with a greeting or a salutation, and you will hear us say, Assalamu alaikum. That simply means peace be unto you. You will also hear us start off in the name of Allah, and then we say the beneficent, the merciful. We bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. And you'll hear shorter and longer versions of that. And on a public symposium like this, we're going to go with the shorter version just so that we can get started. I am here today. I am so excited with some very powerful sisters. I've got my co-host and production administrative assistant and whatever name she wants to give herself, Sister Kenya Muhammad. Sister Kenya, you can give everybody the greetings.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so happy to be doing this for you all, so we hope that you enjoy it.
So I'm going to start off. I think Sister Anissa dropped off. We may have to help her out, Sister Kenya.
I think she's going to get back on, but I'm going to double check to make sure she's fine.
Okay, so before I introduce the other panelists and conversationalists for this symposium, I wanted to kind of give you all the impetus for why we decided to do this. And the idea behind it is because what we found is that as Muslims and as we go through life as spiritual people, we experience things. And what happens is we don't talk about it. And a few weeks ago, I went through some religious discrimination. And I said, why don't we talk about this? Not only just as a people and in our nation, but in general, there's just things we don't talk about. It's all of a sudden seems like we feel justified that we're struggling. We feel good that we're struggling. We try to justify our blessings by our struggle. And Sister Lisa knows I always say, we can't struggle enough to justify what Allah has done for us. So we kind of have to start to figure out, how do we look at struggle? How do we look at the things that we've gone through and use them as tools to help us get over to the other side? And if we're blessed enough to have gone through some stuff and survive, then the lesson most often is not for us. It's for those of us that we can share those blessings with and those lessons with, and the way we've transformed ourselves by the grace of Almighty God Allah and through pulling on the Spirit of Almighty God Allah to get us to another level. And just like we did this morning in our Sajda Saturday morning coffee talk, we're dedicating this to our brother DMX, who struggled with both mental illness and drug abuse and sex addiction. And those are just things that are so common in our community, but we just don't talk about it. We don't reach out to heal and love on one another and support one another. And so we want to do that today and just give back And I want to express my love for each and every one of the sisters that are here on the panel and everybody that's here listening. I want to say and ask Almighty God Allah to bless us today. Sister Kenya told me that in our prep session, she learned so much and got so inspired. And so I pray that through the grace of Allah that we can inspire people. These types of symposiums I developed through my brand called The Authentic You. And The Authentic You is really helping us, is designed to help us to identify and monetize our authenticity. And what does that mean? It means whatever you showed up on the planet to do, whoever you are, and it's a celebration of all the talents that I realized that I had, being able to roll all that stuff into one and use it to do for self and move forward in your life. So we're going to talk a little bit deeper about that. Sister Kenya, do we have Sister Anissa yet? They must be chatting. Okay. So before Sister Anissa comes back, I'm going to introduce my first conversationalist and panelist, Sister Lisa R. Muhammad. And most of you who know me know that this sister is very special to me, because were it not for her, I wouldn't be sitting here today, because she invited me out to hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan when we were like fresh out of college, 21, 22 years old in 1990. But the beautiful thing about Sister Lisa is that not only did she invite me out, she followed up and she followed up. And once I came out, she followed up and made introductions for me. She's responsible for me ending up in Chicago because she made that initial introduction that introduced me to other people who end up bringing me to Chicago, where I worked at the National Center and for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It really started a journey in my life that I'm so grateful for. Not only did she follow up once I came in, she followed up with her family who they put me through Muhammad's boot camp because they knew I was going to Chicago. They didn't want me to embarrass them, but I think I was an okay student. So I want to introduce Sister Lisa R. Muhammad, and many of you know her, but I just want to lay the groundwork, Sister Lisa, for people who need to just get a level set, I should say, on who you are as a professional, who you are as a community activist, and as a woman. So then as we begin to talk about some of these things that we're really going to use our life, okay, to really help you all to grasp onto something and to heal. But I want to level set, because sometimes we lose sight of the fact that we've got some powerhouse brothers and sisters in our midst, and Sister Lisa is one of them. So Sister Lisa, tell the audience whatever you want to tell them about yourself, but I really want them to come away understanding who you are as a professional, who you are as a Muslim, your history in the nation, and who you are as a community activist and the powerful, powerful work that you do.
Thank you, Sister Sajda. So you know that great introduction is going to make it really difficult for me to fulfill. Anyway, in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, who appeared in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom all praise is due. I bear witness the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the exalted Christ, and I bear witness the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is our divine reminder, our warner, our friend, our grace and our mercy, and an extension of the two. As I greet all of you with the greeting words of peace, we say, Assalamu alaikum, and that means peace be unto you. As Sister Sajda mentioned, my name is Sister Lisa R. Muhammad, and depending on how far back you know me, and I'm not sure who's on the line, you may say, oh, that's Lisa so-and-so or Lisa so-and-so. So that's how I determine how long I've known you, depending on what you call me. But most people today know me as Lisa R. Muhammad. I want to begin by thanking, before I thank Sister Sajda, I want to thank my parents. My parents are Brother Minister Yusuf Muhammad, who passed on January 26th, and my beloved mother, who is blessed to still be here with us now, Sister Virginia Muhammad, my first minister, my first captain in the Nation of Islam. And then, of course, I want to thank Sister Sajda for convincing me, not only inviting me to be a part of her awesome platform, one of many that I have been blessed to become familiar with. Like Sister Wendy said, I've known her for so long. She's a very special person. I know she's saying you're supposed to be talking about yourself, but I feel that when I talk about myself, I have to talk about Sister Sajda. As I feel that when I talk about myself, I have to talk about I'm reflecting on many of the other people who have been in my life. And that is another reason why I know it's important for us to have these types of forums. I was blessed to be born and reared in the Nation of Islam, but don't get scared when you hear that. A lot of people say, oh, here she comes. Well, she a Muslim. She's been a Muslim all her life. Being born and reared in right doesn't necessarily mean that you haven't been on the dark side, meaning whether you stepped into the dark side or whether you got pushed into the dark side. So what do I mean by the dark side? What I mean is when you have belief and you have knowledge, you read in the proper way, you know right from wrong, and you find yourself in a situation where you don't necessarily make the right decisions. Now, it's not necessarily that you don't know what to do, but your understanding of what is correct could sometimes cause you to make some of the worst decisions of your life. But we have a beneficent and merciful God. And like Sister Sajda said, that when we go through trials and we live through them, we really are duty bound to share it, because that means God has something else for us to do. With every experience that we have in our lives, he wants us to share them in a way that will help to uplift other members of his society, other members of humanity. So as a professional, Sister Sajda broke it down. I think she said, tell them who you are as a professional, as a community activist, of course, as a member of the Nation of Islam, and as a Black woman. In truth, if I say what I am as a professional, I have to say I'm a combination of all of those things, because what I do as a professional, what I do for a living, if you will, what I do to help serve other people in community, that's what I've done all my life. As far as I can remember, I was blessed to be with my parents when they were out serving and providing help and assistance to others through the propagation of our faith, through just serving in the community, through collaboration with other agencies. And I always said, I can't wait to be a big person. I had a complex about being called a child. I haven't quite figured out why, but I think if I were to give a quick answer, it would be because I often saw that people would relegate children and young people to the child's corner, and the child's corner to me wasn't as exciting as the grown-ups or the big people's corner. So I said, well, I want to be a big person so that I can give and serve and help as I saw the adults in my life doing. So I've had so many different fields of interest, but everyone has been rooted in my desire to serve. And my desire to serve comes from what I believe is the greatest gift that we have, and that's a beneficent and merciful God who gives us everything that we need when we need it, whether we recognize it or not. So I'm a youth development professional. What is a youth development professional? It's exactly what it is. I take my time to make sure that all the things that young people need in their child life, their youth life, their young adult life, and hopefully into their adult life, that they have access to. I use my own life and my own struggles, my own triumphs and trials to show them that there's nothing that you cannot do. It's nothing spooky about it. You just have to be perseverant. I often tell people that there are pitfalls that are put in front of you, especially brothers and sisters of color, to cause you to get frustrated. So what I've always done all my life, I've always looked for the end. Sometimes it would get me in trouble because I was one of those children, like most children, I wanted to know why. For every question, it was why. And if you didn't tell me why, then a lot of times I would say, well, I'm going to try to figure this out. I'm going to find out and from somebody else, or I'm gonna read, I'm gonna research, I'm gonna look it up, but I will not be defeated. I need to know the purpose of what it is that I'm supposed to do. A lot of times young people give up because they are put in situations where they don't know what to do. And a lot of times shame or ego or just a plain lack of knowledge causes us to shift from what God has us on as a path into doing something else. So I am a event planner from the beginning to end. I strive to develop strategies that work for you as a person, as a professional, and also that are going to be the most beneficial to your clientele, whether it's a youth program, whether it's a community activism type of event, whether it is something in social services, or just an event that you're doing to bring people together so that you can make the society a better place in which to live. I'm an educator. Now, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a teacher, I'll be honest, a teacher in a traditional sense. However, when I saw what the the public school system had to offer, and all of the restrictions that disallowed us the ability to actually effectively educate children, I said, I can't do that. I can't educate in that setting. So having been blessed to be reared in a Muslim home and in an educational system that taught us to let no one excel us in anything, and that's every person was taught that. I wasn't taught that I was to excel everyone else and then step on those that may not be where I am. I was taught that not to allow anyone to excel me in anything, and that is what I've always passed on. So I'm an educator. I literally teach. I'm an administrator in education. I help to develop curriculum. I tutor young people. I spend a lot of time trying to find ways for our young adults to gain access to professional skills prior to the time that this society says that they should start. And I thank Allah, God, for Sister Sajda, because she's always been willing to work with our young people who otherwise would be overlooked and told to wait. Our children are often told to wait when other children are bypassing them because they're not wasting time. So those are just a few things that I can say that I do on a professional sense. And there are so many things. I've worn so many hats. Of course, as mentioned, I was born and reared in the Nation of Islam. I've served in many roles, but the best role has been as servant. So all of the different titles that we had within the Nation of Islam, there's no need for me to list all of them. But if you know them, I'll say this, that I've been everything except the minister of the mosque and the FOI captain. So you know what the rest of them are. and
I bear witness to that.
I've been blessed to serve in those. I am a mother of a wonderful little girl, which actually she considers a grown up, and my mom keeps saying, stop calling her a baby and your baby, but you know how it is when you're a mother, she's gonna always be your baby. And then as an activist, just think about all of the things that I said that I do in reference to education, in reference to development of young people, and in reference to my overall profession. And all of those things I use in my activism activities. I love to work in the community. I believe that it is an honor and a duty to serve. I love connecting with people. I love collaborating. So I'm always seeking out agencies that are looking for people who are willing to serve and sacrifice, because service is a sacrifice. A lot of times people don't really want to serve unless there is a monetary attachment. Now, of course, I have a profession and those are things that I should get paid for. But as a Muslim, I consider myself being in the people business. So if I'm in the people business, then I should be willing to serve God's people. So I do a lot of collaboration. I have an organization called STS Plus Consulting. Up underneath that umbrella, there are a number of different programs, too many to list on here, that I have been over for many years. I collaborate with my brother, who is the founder of Project U, which stands for Youth Organizing for Unity. And that is probably one of the most popular or most well-known programs here in the Chicago area, because we've done a lot of programs under that umbrella. And then besides that, I'm just Lisa R. You'll hear people say, do you know Sister Lisa R? Because that's who I am. So I give up my talent, my time, and whatever I can give monetarily to support those efforts that are striving to support others. I believe in the person who is told that they cannot excel. I believe that they can excel, and I strive very hard to never be defeated. And so I go to work on behalf of that person or persons or agency with them, showing them that unless God says otherwise, you can and you will succeed. When we get to the other part, I'm not sure if this is where we're supposed to talk about anything else, but I'm going to turn it over to my beloved Sajda. And thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, Sister Lisa. You know, it ain't over till we win. And like I always tell you, Sister Lisa, we're winners. And I'm just so grateful to be a student of Master Fard Muhammad and meet such wonderful sisters like you all. I'm grateful for the messenger of Allah and really for his, his greatest helper of all, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because I believe in the sisterhood and the relationships that I've built as a result of him standing up are they're immeasurable. And so when we started the Black Muslim Business Directory, I offered to the brothers and sisters in the directory a free coaching and consulting service. And y'all know, if you know me, y'all know I come in the spirit of Harriet Tubman. I'm going to push you and I'm going to promote your business and I'm going to push you to do for self. And so I met Sister Anissa during one of those sessions. She touched my soul so greatly, and something just said, connect her with Sister Lisa and let's do a symposium. And we had so many different things that popped up. We were getting ready to do it, and Brother Yusuf decided to transition, and so we had to hold off. And then we're getting ready to do it again, and then I had an adversary pop up at the city council, and so we had to hold up again. But this sister, I want also to lay the groundwork. And Sister Anissa, you were gone, and I said, before we get into some of our deep discussion, I really want to lay the groundwork for who you are professionally, who you are as a person, as a community activist, and a little bit about your company. So this is Sister Anissa M. Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wa alaikum salam.
I want to first thank you so much from my heart, Sister Sajda, for nurturing, your nurturing spirit. And we'll talk about this later, but everything that you gave me instruction on to do has been accomplished. And I'm quite sure you can, if you go back, you'll know what those things are.
Yes, ma'am.
Like Sister Lisa, who I am and what I do professionally, personally, and for and on behalf of the community is all packaged in one thing. It all stems from one thing, and it's a desire to be a servant of Almighty God Allah in the work of the resurrection of the dead. Professionally, I am a health educator. I am a public health specialist. I serve the community and I help them to connect the dots between their illnesses, their behavior, and the way that they think about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus said, physician, heal thyself. Every one of us is a physician if we're paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies have the intellect to heal themselves if we remove from it whatever it is that's causing it to be dysfunctional or off balance. And that's what I help my patients do. My approach is not mainstream. Nothing that Anissa does is mainstream. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not raise us to be mainstream. So my methodology is tailored for every individual because every individual's needs are different. People are not cut from, like what they call it, cookie cutter.
Right.
Every single person has a different need and a different level of understanding. But the most important thing that I try to impart to those who I am so blessed to encounter in my life, in this dispensation of time, I let them know that they are of God and from God. And that is where and how I approach them.
Mm-hmm.
I am a scientist in the sense that I heard Sister Minister Ava say that scientists observe. And that's what I do. I look at and pick apart every single thing that I see, because in so doing, that will help me to do the work that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has asked us to do, which is to resurrect the dead. So it's like I look at things and I examine them thoroughly. How can I make this better? How can I make this better? How can I help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in rebuilding the wasted cities? There's got to be a better way. And the only way that I have discovered is God's way, because I can't try to build something new based on the knowledge that is of this world.
Yes.
because that's the reason why and how we got in such a wretched condition is by following the things that are of this world. So I am also a domestic violence counselor and advocate. As and I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, Lisa, then I mean Sasha, then please stop me. But
Just give
there,
your introduction on yourself, and then we're gonna come back and go into
okay. Well,
specifics.
that's how, and that's who I am. I'm a sister and a servant.
Yes.
My mosque life, I'm a sister and a servant. But I
Yes.
have also served in the capacity I'm serving now as the Western Regional Student Coordinator of the Ministry of Health and Human Services. I have been a lieutenant. I have been an admin assistant to the Western Regional FOI captain. I'm a student minister in the city of Los Angeles as well, under the tutelage of Brother Minister Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad. And he is such a wonderful mentor and teacher
He
for
is.
me,
Good brother.
just absolutely
Good
wonderful.
brother.
And that's just who I am. I am what I am, and I am who I am, and I know whose I am.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. Sister Kenya, I'm going to put you on the spot because everybody sees your beautiful face there.
Yes.
And I want them to know who you are and what you do as a servant and a sister, as Sister Anissa so beautifully just coined.
Yes, ma'am. Well, first, assalamu alaikum. So
Walaikum
Walaikum
as she
salam.
salam.
said, my name is Sister Kenya, and so I am a proud member, of course, of the Nation of Islam. I was blessed to be born into the nation, and on my 16th birthday, I actually decided for myself to.
Uh-oh. Kenya? Okay, I think we lost her. We'll come back to Kenya on her 16th birthday. We'll leave it at that. So going into, Alita said they don't see Kenya, but some people will, I think, can see Kenya because somebody just texted me and said that. But anyway, Kenya's going to come back and she's going to finish talking about what she did on her 16th birthday and what she decided. And we'll come back to that. So I want to get into the meat and potatoes of what I didn't know almost killed me. And remember, we decided to entitle that because there were times in our lives where we came face to face, whether it was with death or destruction or with something that brought us to our knees and brought us ultimately closer to Allah. And these are the things that oftentimes we don't talk about and we want to use our lives. I tell people all the time about experience of being homeless. And for myself, growing up upper middle class, and for me to end up with no money and no place to live, that was devastating for me. And so to some other people, that may not mean anything. They may say, girl, that ain't nothing. But for me, that was the equivalent of me hitting rock bottom. And so Allah tries us in ways that he knows is going to straighten us up and turn us around or make us pay attention or mold us into shape. And so I'm going to start with you, Sister Lisa, and I want to talk about and some things that I know, and if I say anything you don't feel comfortable talking about, but I want to specifically talk to you about domestic violence, because there are so many women out here, especially Black people, Black women, especially women in religion, women in Islam, women in Christianity, who face domestic violence and they hide it. And they think that once they say they believe that it can't happen to them, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to share. And so they never heal. And so the first part of the question I want to ask you is anything you want to tell us about your experience with domestic violence in a way that people can connect with you. But what I also want to do is I don't want to just leave it there where you say, okay, hey, I got out of it. I ran from this situation. How did you use self-improvement to then fix what was going on within yourself that attracted that to yourself, that put you in that situation, that allowed you to even go into that situation at first. But let's start first with the situation, and I just want to have a discussion about it, and then we'll go to Sister Anissa.
Okay, so when we speak of the term domestic violence, I have to be very honest. I was a grown adult out of a domestic violence, having removed myself from, having been blessed to remove myself from a domestic violence situation before I knew that I had been in a domestic violence situation. Meaning even to the extent that knowing that that's really what it was.
So you didn't realize that's what it was when you were going through it.
Right. Hence the term, hence the title of What I Didn't Know Almost Killed Me. Now, you know, some of you listening, I pray that, you know, you still love me and think I'm kind of smart, but sometimes our perception of things and our knowledge that we believe we have can be to our detriment if it's misguided. So, and I'll try to make this I'll try to just put it all together and come to today's time, Sister Sajda. So I grew up, of course, like I said, in the nation. And I was always taught that, well, in our house, the cardinal sin was to fight each other. The brothers and the sisters, you don't fight your brother and sister. And that was not just my biological brother and sister. That was the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and is the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So I grew up where you could do all types of things, but you better not be caught fighting your brother and or your sister, or even fighting Black people, period. You better not fight your brother and your sister. So that's the mindset. So being thrust into a public school system after, for a certain number of years, going to Muhammad University of Islam, it was a cultural change. So of course, in a public school.
So Lisa, you went to public school after the messenger departed and Muhammad University closed. You then had to go to
actually, I went to public school while the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was with us, because as children, we were disobedient. And for those who are not familiar with the educational paradigm and the structure of Muhammad University, the children, the brothers went half a day and the sisters went half a day. Well, back in the day when I was in elementary school, children went to school all day long. You really didn't have the right as a parent to decide that you were going to teach your children at home, and definitely not have them out of school before the entire school day was up. So we were being taught at Muhammad University, and our parents instructed us to stay in the house. Well, it was one of those things in my mind, why? We're finished, why we got to stay in the house? And we only just went into our yard. So basically what happened is somebody reported us. They reported our parents as being, as us being delinquent, and they were contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
I see.
Because we were outside, you know, playing, and it was a half a day, and we should have been in school according to this system. So my parents wrote the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and of course there have been years way back in the earlier years prior to me being this age where parents fought and the Muhammad University of Islam administrators fought, and children were taken to foster care and different things because we were not going to allow our children to go to public school. But during this time, of course, in the 70s, I can't say exactly what and why the messenger made this decision, but he instructed my parents. Of course, my mother and my father were both in leadership in the Nation of Islam, in the mosque. And my mother was a part of the administration of Muhammad University. So told
Lisa, I'm gonna jump in here again to just lay the groundwork, because I want people to understand how real you keeping it. Your father was the minister.
Yes.
And what role did your mother have?
My mother at that time was an instructor for Muhammad University of Islam.
Okay.
And she was a lieutenant in the mosque.
So you were a laborer's child.
I was a laborer's child.
Okay, got it.
And I was a hard-headed laborer's child who was disobeying instructions. As a result, they were instructed by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to put us in school. meaning follow the rules of the land. Of course, we in America, and at that time we went to school. But the difference was we went to school all day in the public school system, and then when we came back home, we went to school again because we had to be debriefed and deprogrammed of what they taught us. So we were getting retaught at home and going to public school. Fast forward, so in school, I'm seeing people fighting, and I'll be honest, I didn't pay too much attention if the fights were with Blacks and children from other cultures. But whenever I would see a Black person fighting a Black person, you could probably call me what they call now a snitch, because I told. Not only did I tell about the fight being planned, I told the fighters, I'm going to tell on you because brothers and sisters shouldn't fight each other. So fast forward, now we're in high school, middle school, and I'm getting a little more assimilated into this society. So fighting didn't seem as bad, especially when some of the fighting was on my behalf. So if somebody picked on me, of course, I'm who I am, and I had more brothers that had my back than sisters. So if anybody bothered me, then certain people would take up for me. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, that's different, a different type of fighting. The problem is the person who was doing it had a problem that I just did not recognize. I justified in my mind that because this person was taking up for me and getting in these fights sometimes the things were probably ridiculous, but I thought it was okay. I was all proud. Oh, he's taking up for me. Fast forward, I married him. I've left out a whole lot of things in between.
No, keep going. You're doing good.
But I married this person. And I remember having conversations about the fighting, but it just seems so far. We're grown now. It seems so far away that we're having a conversation. And so then one day we went to a family member's home, one of his family members' home. Let me do a disclaimer. This is not a brother in the Nation of Islam. This is when I say, I don't want to say the total dark side, but this was a little bit of the light was gone. And I was trying new things. And I justified, I've known him all my life. Okay, this is the natural progression of things. Of course, I should marry him.
And he'll convert. He'll convert.
My father loved him. My parents knew him. We knew each other's family. He took up for me in school. He was just like an FOI. He had my back. So I married him. But very quickly, things began to change. And the first thing that began to change was his explaining to me that I didn't really need to spend so much time with my family. Got it.
Isolation.
Right, isolation, not realizing that that's your protection. But I'm thinking, okay, according to the scriptures, when you get with a brother, when you get married, he's the person that's your number one go-to. So I'm like, oh, it's not a big deal. So the first time I knew something was wrong is when we went to one of his family members' events, and they were talking about something. And then I interjected. I don't even remember what it was. I mean, I'm smart. I got information.
You can talk.
Yeah. So I made a comment, and everybody was laughing, whatever it was. I think it maybe came off the wrong way where he was like the butt of a joke or something, but that was not the intent. We get back to the house and we're just talking, and I'm not even thinking nothing about it. And the next thing I know, I was punched in the face, like full fist. And in my mind, all I could do was like, okay, you don't fight your brothers and your sisters, and you definitely don't fight your husband. And I just looked at him. I'm thinking he's confused. He made a mistake. So I said, you hit me. And he stared. He just looked at me because he knew that the way I was reared to fight aggressors, but not to fight brothers and sisters. And this is the first time in all his life he had been taken up for me. And it was so bizarre that I told myself, and I'm going to segue, I'm going to go back for a minute. This past Sunday, a brother, the student regional captain of the Nation of Islam, Grandmaster Abdul Aziz Muhammad, he had a podcast called Walking with the Master. And on there, he had one of his teachers, Soke Lil John Davis. And when he was telling a story of something he did, I chuckled because I did the same thing. Now it's a little different for him because he could really do what he said. He said Sunday that when he was little, he got, and I'm paraphrasing, when he was little in the dojo, somebody hit him, somebody he had to fight, and the person beat him or something to that effect. And the first thing he said was, I'm gonna get him back. He kept saying, I'm gonna get him back. I'm gonna get him next time. And I'm telling you, I reflected on the first time I got hit in the face. The first time my ex-husband hit me in the face, I didn't think it was no domestic violence. I didn't think about calling nobody. I don't even know if I really thought it was wrong. What I said, I'm gonna get him back. So ain't no need of me calling nobody, because he won't get me next time. It's almost like I'm a boxer and I'm waiting for the next fight. I'll get him back next time. Fast forward, I found myself standing over him after a couple more of these incidents, telling myself in my head, I should cut his throat. This is just how crazy that it got. I had gone so far from who I was, refusing, one, to contact my Muslim parents, because part of me was like, you know what they're gonna say. They're gonna say, you know better than that, and so on and so. I had everything in my mind fixed. I clearly wasn't gonna
can I jump in there? Because you're not saying that they would have supported the domestic violence.
Right.
You're saying that they would not have supported how you responded to it. And I'm assuming all the other things that were going on in the relationship that continued the violence.
Yes, they would not have supported any of that. And I felt like, one, I started feeling like a failure and like I was being defeated. And in my mind, I wanted to win first. I said, after I win, then I can talk about my triumph. And, you know, to keep from taking up all the time, because I want to hear from Sister Anissa, I'll say this. I never actually told them. I never told them. And
so you hid it from your parents.
I never told my parents. I never really, to be honest, I never really told anybody until I was in counseling, when I was in life repair. That's when I finally told somebody. Of course, I told you. I shouldn't say
told me.
But I would get angry when people would even ask me about my husband. So how's your husband? I had created this facade. I came to, well, let me say this. I never told anybody until I ran from Indianapolis and moved to Chicago. And I did sit down and I talked with student minister Ishmael, kind of hypothetically, you know, what if so-and-so and so-and-so, you know, that kind of thing. And then ultimately.
So I want to jump in there too, because this is keeping it real. And then we're going to go to Sister Anissa. So you are married as a Muslim woman and a laborer, as a former laborer's child. Your parents are still laborers. You run from Indianapolis to Chicago, running from this man who is fighting you?
Well, it's a part in there that this is what made me realize that I was lost and I had to be found.
Okay.
The fighting kept on up to a certain point. Then in 1989, probably around June, the last draw, or what happened was, we got into this crazy fight and I ran out of the apartment in the middle of the night, pouring down rain. This is when they had telephone booths, like the telephone booths Clark Kent goes in and changes into Superman. And that's all I could do, because I didn't have anything. I didn't have a car. I didn't have any money. I was so far away from everything that I didn't have anywhere to run to. So I ran there. He came, he stood outside the booth and he said, so what you gonna do? He laughed at me. He said, you definitely ain't gonna call your father. What you gonna call Brother Yusuf? So, and I just cried and I said, just please leave me alone. He left. He went back. I waited.
So wait. So you are half dressed. You run out of the house in the rain, in the phone booth, after y'all had just had a physical altercation, and he comes to the phone booth and said, what you gonna do? You just in the phone booth crying in the rain.
And he's standing out there laughing. So what I did, I knew in my mind, I didn't have nowhere to go. I eventually, because matter of fact, he said, you'll be back. It was right. I had to come back to the house. And I remember when I came back to the house, I just quietly sat there and I prayed. And when he came to talk to me, I said, Allah is going to get you. It's the first time I ever even invoked Allah's name in.
Never called on Allah when all this was going on.
I'll be honest, I never, because I felt like I was wrong, I was right, I'm gonna beat him. I was just all in the middle of stuff, and then I was disconnected from my family, so there was no support there. I wasn't gonna tell anybody what was going on. I'm gonna fix it first, and then I'm gonna tell my story. So what happened was I said, God's gonna get you. But anybody knows about domestic violence, it's a cycle. So you go from honeymoon to fighting, back to honeymoon to fighting. So I said, God is gonna get you. Moving to the next stage, one of the things I did not mention is that he was a gangster in all the ways you can consider it. And one of my issues was, and this to me, I look at it now, this was Allah showing me you're not going to be able to live like that. And I was so crazy. I was trying to prove to him that I could hang. I could be his ride or die. This is my ex-husband who cherished me as a Muslim before the fact.
Before you start trying to be his ride or die.
Then when I started being the ride or die, we used to fight about him telling me to stay out of his business and I don't want you involved in this. And I was so desperate to be in the circle that I said, I can do it. I convinced myself I can be just as ride or die and just as much of a gangster be as everybody else. I had lost my mind. So the day I said, he's gonna get you, I let it go. So everything was quiet. He didn't fight for a while. And then a family incident happened. And I'm gonna tie this up. My little sister, my baby sister, may Allah be well pleased, her daughter, she and my baby's father were estranged. And you know how you have visitation. So the baby's father had my niece, and my little sister called my husband because, he didn't know who he is. She called and said to him that the baby's father had kidnapped my niece and wouldn't let her come home. Now, of course, I'll just go, the end part is that wasn't really true. But me not thinking as I was reared, not thinking according to the teachings about don't get involved in people's domestic affairs, because sometimes women are saying things that are not all the way true. And if you don't check into it, it could cause chaos. So immediately he got off the phone and he said, I'm on my way. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on. We get into an argument and I say, I'm going. So I roll over to this house with my ex-husband. We picked up a few people and I'm rolling. I'm thinking, ride or die.
Y'all going in straight gangster mode.
We going, but I ain't no real gangster. I'm a fake gangster. So I'm not really understanding what is going on. All I know is I'm proving to him, I got this. I'm cool like you or whatever. So I'm sitting in the car. He said, stay in the car. First of all of this, my behavior is way away from Islam because it's why am I there in the first place? And then even though his instruction might not have been one that he ain't in authority, he did give me a clear instruction, stay right here. I didn't know what they were going to do. So after a few minutes, he took so long, I go up to the house to find out what's going on. Next thing I know, he's shooting at people. And in fact, the end of that story is I ended up on a road, handcuffed to a police car, him in the police car, looking at him in the police car. And in my mind, I'm saying, oh Allah, what have I done? But I ain't gonna lie, the other part of me was saying, Allah, is this you getting him? Now I know that sounds crazy.
No, that's real.
Part of me said, Allah I was confused. I said, is this you getting him? Then I got sad. Did I cause this? And so on and so forth. But long story short, he was given an astronomical number of years for attempted murder. But my crazy self stayed connected. And then by the time I connected with you, Sister Sajda, that's when the rest of the story got crazy. And even from the prison cells with the bars where he could not get to me, he was invoking the fear of God in me.
I remember that. And
I said, I can't do this anymore. And I bounced and I hid it. I erased it. I tried to make it go away. And I just kept on living, went on about my life. But I knew I had to depend on Allah. And from that point on, I figured that what I better do is do what I know I've been raised to do and help other people. The challenge for me was I was trying to help people and I didn't want to tell them why I was so passionate about helping them. When I came to Chicago, I was working in Inglewood, and I went to, there was a lot of teen dating violence, another term that I didn't know about. The Boys and Girls, I was executive director of Boys and Girls Club in Inglewood.
Lisa, I'm gonna stop you right there because I want to give Sister Anissa a chance to jump in here, because we're gonna come back around and start talking about, I know where you're going with the Boys and Girls Club. So thank you, sis.
Wow.
I appreciate you, and I thank Allah for blessing you to come through that. And it's one of the reasons why I know that you are one of the jewels of the Black community, of our nation, of the world, because of what you've overcome and how strong you are. And people don't know like I know, because I remember when you was right in the throes, in the thick of it, but you was still at that point able to help make soldiers. And so it's so much more. We could talk for 4 hours about it, but I just want you to know that I love you for that. And I love you for striving. I love you for sharing that. I love you for being, to me, what you didn't have to be because you need to help yourself. And so I thank you for that. And so going to Sister Anissa, when I met her, Sister Anissa had powerful stories like Sister Lisa. And she blew me away because we were talking about drug addiction and domestic violence. And she told me some stories that tied it all up. And I said, you know what? We need to share, because when people look at your power and your strength, you know, Sister Anissa, when I hear you talk and when you talk, you know, Allah just jumps up out of your mouth. He just jumps all out at you when Sister Anissa comes. And most people would look at that and say, okay, she's just a super soldier. Or they look at Sister Lisa and go, she's just a super soldier. All she's talking about is the teaching. But your commitment to the teachings is because of what you have overcome and what Allah has blessed you to come through. And so I believe that there are sisters watching right now who have gone through what Sister Lisa's gone through and gone through what you're going to share today. And I want to show us the power of a true and living God. Because, and if there's anything in my spirit and what I can do to help you all release and get your businesses going, your companies going, because both of y'all are helping women in a way that you've overcome, I'm here because I know that you're a mighty soldier for Almighty God Allah. And so I want, if you don't mind, to hear your story. You talked about the nickel and all of that. I want the world to hear this, because when they see how Allah jumps up out of you, they're going to say, her? So go ahead.
Yeah, me. Yeah, me. I have to start from my childhood, because what we see, hear, taste, feel, touch, and experience as children lays the foundation of how we conduct ourselves as young adults. I grew up looking at dysfunctional families, in that I would see big families, mamas and the mothers and the fathers fist fighting in public. And then you have some of the children taking mama's side, some taking daddy's side, and you know, and at the root of most of it was alcohol. So I grew up despising alcohol because I associated alcohol with violence.
I see.
I witnessed my aunt getting beaten by her boyfriend, who was much older than her, by the way, and she was babysitting us. And she snuck him in the house, and it was 5 of us, and the 2 older ones tried to shield the 3 little ones because we were all frozen watching him beat my aunt. And she didn't want to go home because she didn't want her brothers to get involved. She didn't want my grandfather to get involved. But it's like, you can't hide your eyes sitting out like this, or a missing tooth, or anything like that. And based upon that, and the way, and I grew up during the 60s, so I looked about and saw a lot of the civil unrest in
Mm,
our communities, and that sent a message to me that we weren't worth anything, and
mm,
that the only thing that Black women were put on this earth to do was to take stuff, because that's all I saw.
when you say take stuff, you mean like just be abused, take mess off of
To
people?
be, yes, to be abused, to be disrespected, to
Uh-huh.
be forever engulfed in a lot of pain and misery.
Mm-hmm.
My mom put on a good front, but I know that in retrospect, I know that she was going through a lot of things. And that set me up for my own naivete as a young adult,
Mm.
because once I got on my own, and my mother was very strict, by the way, but when I got on my own, I have already formulated certain ideas in my head. I grew up with the mentality for women: if you got it, flaunt it. So I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that fast forwarding to me leaving Cleveland, Ohio, and coming to Los Angeles, I wanted to be a model, and I also wanted to sing
Mm-hmm.
because I was good at both.
Mm-hmm.
I got out of modeling because I got tired of being treated like a piece of meat.
Mm-hmm.
And that casting couch issue in show business is real.
Mm-hmm.
But at least I did have enough sense not to fall for the okey doke. So
Mm-hmm.
I got out of it. I
Mm.
was swept off my feet in college by my children's father, my ex-husband, because he was tall and handsome and had the big cars and had the money and this, that, and the other. And I was attracted to that. Why? Because my daddy was a gangster.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's what attracted a lot of women to him. That's what attracted my mom to him. And I know that my dad was the type of person, he was a numbers runner. He sold drugs and he did a lot of different things. So when I say he was a gangster and a hustler, it wasn't no joke. I'm for real.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
Everybody knew that's Slim's daughter and you don't mess with her.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that is something that attracted me to my husband. And I had no idea of the darkness that was inside of his mind.
Mm.
He isolated me from my family.
Same
He I
thing.
Yes, he isolated, but he also isolated himself. And he even convinced me that if I did not think as he did, then I wasn't a good woman.
Mm.
I wasn't being a good wife if I didn't agree with everything that he agreed with. I spoke when I was spoken to. I
Mm-hmm.
was literally controlled. And
Mm.
I'm not going to use that word like I did when me and you and Lisa talked before, but all it takes, family, is one good butt whooping. One, one. And
All
I
it
was
takes is one good butt whooping to do what, Anissa?
to become submissive, to avoid that pain again. And
Uh-huh.
that's what I became. And it was one of those where the whites of your eyes are as red as blood, both of
Mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
And then with me having a child and me being asleep, and then I wake up and I don't know where my child is.
He would take the child.
He would take the child and not tell me, and then think it was funny that I'm frantic, not knowing, because I'll tell the people, I'll tell the authorities that you're not a good mother. And by the
Mm-hmm.
time that threat came and became a real fear factor for me, had already been caught up in this crack epidemic. And
Ah,
that was my escape. And this was before I joined the nation.
was this from him? He
Yes.
introduced you to crack?
No, my sister did.
Okay, got it.
No,
Okay.
he didn't introduce me to crack, but I know that when we both became addicted, I would get beaten for not buying it. I would get beaten if I didn't want to, get smacked around if I didn't want to get high. So it just became habit forming just so that I can avoid all of the drama.
Yeah.
And then after a while, it didn't matter. I was
Mm-hmm.
a willing participant. I cannot deny that.
Mm-hmm.
And and it just became in the beginning when I first heard Dr. Khaled speak at our mosque, I recognized the reality of it, and it really touched my soul. But
Mm-hmm.
he began slowly and surely over time to become a little bit resentful, and I couldn't understand that because he was the one that introduced me to the religion of Islam through books.
So he started to resent the fact that you began to find solace in Islam, even though he was the one who introduced
Yes.
you to it.
Yes. But see, the thing is, he wanted me to embrace the concept of the culture of how women in Islam are treated in the Middle East.
Mm.
That's what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
He did not want me to embrace the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, even though that's what he introduced me to.
I see.
And even the beatings did not keep occurring after I joined the ranks. It just became the threat of my being exposed
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to those in the mosque.
You didn't want
I
anybody in
still
the mosque
I
to
didn't
know.
want nobody to know that I was still being psychologically, verbally, and physically abused. I did not want them to know that it was hard for me to kick that drug habit that I had.
I see.
Very hard. And it was a fear factor of all of that being out in the open,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like I was just so much in turmoil. And then when I started to really want to be a servant of Almighty God Allah, it became harder and harder for him to deal with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, out of fear of him trying to take that animosity and resentment out of my children, I tried to find a way out.
I
And
see.
I did. And I eventually asked for a divorce. And I laugh at this, but it's very real. When we talk about this, shh, shh, don't tell nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell nobody. He threatened to kill me and my children if I left.
Mm-hmm.
He told me that you got 4 children, you ain't got no money, you ain't as fine as you used to be, you ain't got nothing going for you, so ain't nobody gonna want you.
Mm.
And I just looked at him and said, maybe not on the planet where you live, but on earth where I live, I know that that's not true. And I lay back down and went to sleep. But I didn't sleep because I'm busy trying to figure out how am I going to plan and escape, because that's what it had to be, because I knew him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a struggle. I did go to a domestic violence shelter, but when I got out, and he had a restraining order on him and everything, but when I got out, it was my son, the pain in his spirit and on his face and in his being, that kind of made the decision for me to go back, because that's my son. And I
Go
did
back
not
where? To your
home.
husband?
Yes,
I see.
yes.
I
And I
see.
did not want my son to be in pain.
Mm-hmm.
It was my son.
Your son was hurt because he
He
missed his
didn't
father.
he missed his father.
Mm-hmm.
And in little tiny ways, even though he was happy that we were back, he punished me still in little ways.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I got up enough courage to file for divorce and get the divorce, after I was gone and he was living with another woman, I was still being stalked by him For 3 years, I was stalked by him.
Lisa went through that too.
He violated the restraining order, which I had to get out on him twice. When it expired, I went and got it renewed. And he's told the judge something, and the judge just looked him in his face and said, "I'm not buying that. I'm going to renew this for another 3 years." And for those 3 years, even though he was living and has established a relationship with another woman, in his head, I was still his property. And I was not allowed to have a relationship with anybody. He even straight out told me, and I'm not being vulgar, you can be in a relationship with somebody, you just can't have sex with them. And it's like, you really are, a USDA certified loon, And I mean, when I say I was stalked, I mean everywhere I went. When I was on school campus, whenever I went to work, whenever because he was trying to put the fear of Allah in me and want me to be afraid of him. But the more I stayed away from him, the stronger I became. You asked, how did the study guides or the self-improvement help me to become stronger? Because I had to look at my ugliness in the face, in the mirror every day, and ask myself, how in the hell did you get yourself in this situation?
So and let me ask you this, sis, and this is a question for both of you. You find yourself, you're in this situation, you're struggling, because I want anybody watching who's going through something, because you all know I'm all about giving people tools and strategies to help them take their lives to that next level. Because what happens is sometimes we get stuck and then we just dress up being stuck. But what tools did you use? Like, what did you rely on to get yourself to where you could finally begin to climb out? Because I believe the reason why I say self-improvement and the study guides is because at some point you have to change who you are. And so for all the sisters and brothers who are listening, because brothers get abused too. So for all the sisters and brothers who are listening, what did you have to change inside of yourself in order to take yourself to that next level? We'll start with you, Sister Anissa, and then go to Sister Lisa.
I had to change how I viewed myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had been psychologically, physically, emotionally, and verbally beat down to where I thought I had no value.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to constantly pray. And I kept my head and my face in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I started to really fully understand what it means when we are taught that Almighty God Allah created us out of the wisdom of himself.
So
He created
Lisa, let me ask
us.
you a question. You said, I kept my head and my face in the teachings. What does that mean? Did you read the Quran every day? Did you study? Did you memorize?
I read the Quran, and I would let my fingers do the walking, so to speak. I wanted to, and I prayed and asked God to let me know who I was, because I had lost my mind and I had lost my identity. And I didn't know who I was in my connection to him. And it took 3 whole years for me to find out who I was. And see, because because my relationship with my former husband was for 20 years.
So as you started to study and you started to read the Quran, are you saying, let me talk about it this way. I was listening to Tina Turner talk about how as she began to chant, she began to open up and gain more courage. So as you began to read the Quran and read the teachings and study, did you open up more? Did you get more courage? Did you find that all of a sudden there was a balance, a shift in the balance or shift in the weight, where all of a sudden now you are more connected to Allah than you are connected to your fear of him? What happened there so that people
it took me to take responsibility.
Uh-huh.
I'm not putting the blame on him. I had to ask Allah to forgive me for losing myself. I
Mhm.
had to forgive myself. I had to take responsibility because nobody can do anything to you if you do not allow them to do it.
Mhm.
And I allowed him to treat me less than what and who I was. And that's when the burden started to lift from my shoulder. That's when the teachings or God's word inspired me more.
So you
My,
started to redefine
I
yourself.
redefined who I am
Who are you are.
and
Sis-
who, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So
That's what it
Sister
took.
Lisa, what would you say that you had to change within yourself in order to release that part of your life? Because one of the things, you and I talked about is once we get into these painful situations, sometimes we start to identify ourselves with the pain, whatever we're going through, whatever struggle we're going through, whatever difficulty, whatever challenge. When we see ourselves, we see that pain and we see that challenge. But somehow we got to break loose of that. And what did you have to change in yourself to break loose of that pain?
Well, and first off, Sister Sandra, Sister Anissa, I have to be honest. Mine is still, it's a process. So
Mhm.
I would be lying if I said I have arrived and I have I'm totally disconnected, because
Mhm.
the impact of that type of reality, it's so broad that it impacts every single thing that you do. And this is not just for women, it happens with men, but more so for women, because we love hard
Yeah.
and we love strong, and things are normally not fly by night, and we keep trying and we find ourselves back in the same situation because we're still determined to win.
Right.
And though it may not be an abusive relationship, there's something that you feel, I can win this time. So you keep
Mhm.
Yes.
trying things that are similar. You try
Ah,
a certain type of job,
I
or you
see.
try a friendship, or you try another marriage, or you try things. So I will have to be honest that I am still climbing. But what like Sister Anissa said, I had to go back. So you said, like, after you believe, what happens when you believe and then you end
Yeah.
up in the
Yeah.
situation? Remember,
Yes.
my parents reared me well, gave me all the teach. I heard the most Elijah Muhammad myself. The other
Mhm.
thing is I had to go back and restudy what I thought I understood of the teachings.
There it is.
Yes.
I
There it
thought
is.
Yes.
asking for help, in my
Mhm.
mind, do for self. And I'm not mocking do for self. Do for self is real. So that I took most, of not probably 95% of the teachings, even as a child, literally. So do for
Mhm.
self, you get in trouble, you get yourself out of trouble.
That's
Something
right.
as
Mhm.
simple as, transgression against God is sin. And in our circle, we have a certain penalties, if you will, or things that happen when we break the rules. In
Mhm.
my mind, it's like I'm destined to burn in hell or whatever for the decisions that I've made in my life. So I saw that as a sin, what I was doing with my ex-husband, causing him to want to fight me. So I have to get myself out of this. The
Yeah.
one thing that I will say I did start doing is I started seeking assistance from services. See, we can't be spooky.
Yeah.
If
There you
I'm
go.
in if I'm in a room and I'm seeking help and there's no help in that room, then if I really want to get help for what ails me, I have to seek assistance and support in other areas. And that just kind of fell upon me in my efforts to help teenagers stop fighting as teen dating partners. I
Mhm.
learned as an adult that this is something that I had gone through, and here, what I'm teaching them, I really am also learning myself. So this is probably the third or second public setting where I've even talked about this. I believe I saw one of this person's name come up, and I believe it's the sister who was probably the first person who somehow made me feel compelled to even talk a little bit. And through the session, I literally had to hold her hand, like
Mhm.
so tight,
To
to
let
get,
it go.
because people who have been in these type of settings, as you discuss it, you feel the blows, and nothing spooky about that. When you start reflecting on things, you find yourself back in that situation. So you normally will run from it. So I studied, I worked harder, I served harder, I tried to do better, but at the same time, I was holding it in. I started seeking support from the auditing department. But Sister Aisha Muhammad is probably one outside of you who probably knows much of these stories and tragedies that I've gone through. But that's rough for me. I really don't care about people knowing. It's just hard for me to say it, because we as a people, and definitely as women, sometimes we're so judgmental. You know, we put each other on pedestals, and then we get mad because we don't fulfill one another's expectations. And I'm not making excuses about anything. I'm just saying that it's very hard sometimes when you're trying to help other people to heal and they find out you had an issue, then they're looking at you like, no, you can't heal me, when in fact that person may be better qualified to help.
That's the very person.
Exactly.
I'm still studying, I'm still reaching out, I'm still connecting. I pray that people online will be able to have access to the different services, but I'm just trying to be more transparent, more open about it.
Yes.
Because that's how you get rid of it. It's kind of like, you know, not
therapy.
It's kind of like throwing up. You know, you got that sickness in your stomach. One good, and this, I'm not trying to be bad, but one good throw up, and you feel better. When you get it back in the day, when you go party and you get drunk, all you need is that one or maybe two good throw ups. It may be an ugly scene, but when you finish, you're like, whew, dang, I feel better. You know, better. So,
Lisa, one thing I think I mentioned this to you years ago, and I say this for the Sister Kenyas and those who grew up in the nation. And when you're born with these powerful teachings that are supreme wisdom, sometimes, somehow, you start to feel like you ain't supposed to go through nothing. And if you do, you better fix it. And then if you do fall down and you come face to face with something tragic, you feel like you don't have nowhere to go. See, those of us that came up as lost founds, I grew up Catholic, you kind of feel like you got an out. But you all a lot of times, because you already know the teachings at such a young age, and I want Sister Kenya to talk on this a little bit, that you feel like, what happens to me if I go through something? You start to ask yourself, who do I talk to? Because I'm supposed to have supreme wisdom. So what advice would you give? And just talk a little bit, Sister Kenya, about how that feels.
Yeah, I mean, everything that you just said was absolutely spot on. I know, like with myself and even a lot of my peers, we have conversations sometimes, and it's like in energy, like you said, like for one, we've got these teachings our whole life. And like Sister Lisa was talking about, it's like it's a certain level of shame that you may have experienced some things that really was done to you. It was things that was wrong, that some things you may not even have had control over, but it still feels like you saying something about it is either letting somebody down, or it's putting a bad look on the nation, you know what I'm saying? Or it's like, okay, well, why were you in this situation? And now you're feeling like, okay, even though I need help from this situation, even though I wish something could be done about it, even though I know there should be some type of assistance and guidance that I know I need, it's like an energy of, if people know, what are they going to say? I'm going to get in trouble, all of those kind of different things. And so it's weighty sometimes, because
so it's like the help is there, but you may be less inclined to access the help. Whereas maybe somebody like myself or Sister Anissa would say, oh, I know I can go talk to Sister so-and-so or Sister Brother or Brother so-and-so, you always say, no, I better not say nothing.
Yes, because I know I have to see these people again. I know that I was taught better for certain things, all of those kind of things. But it's like at the end of the day, we know that the mosque and, you know, the church or whatever it is, that's those spiritual aspects is almost like a hospital, right? So why would you think being in a hospital that you would have to be all the way well? You know what I'm saying? So it's like the more that I learn and experience, and the more that I, you know, hear conversations like this and feel the vulnerability of other people, it makes you more inclined to be able to get help yourself, because it's like, I know that there's other people suffering, and it comes with sisterhood, you know, like the more that as younger people we connect more with our older sisters who've been through the same thing, because none of us are going through new things, you know, the more that we connect with you all, and it's like, wow, I'm hearing Sister Lisa's story. I've known Sister Lisa for
your whole life.
I don't know how many years, but now I feel, for one, closer to her, and also more understood just from hearing her story, just from hearing Sister Anissa's story, and learning about you all. I feel more convicted in myself. I feel more confident in, like, wow, I'm still worthy, even though I may have went through some things, or I still can get over things. So all of these kind of conversations are important to help strengthen the sisterhood, and also just bring us to a place with understanding, as we talked about before, that Allah, there's definitely struggles and trials that we all go through, but a lot of the self-inflicted or inflicted by other people things that we go through are not meant for us to go through. And the more we can be vulnerable to have these conversations, the less people behind us will have to go through those same things, you know?
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
Sandra,
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to just say that what Sister Kenya mentioned is one of the main reasons why I'm very passionate about what I do with young people. And I'll be honest, it's easier for me to work with young people. People say I work with young people because I want to stay young. And that is true. Because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that if you hang around or spend time with young people with a young spirit, then you stay young. So I want them to feel not comfortable in transgression, but strong enough and comfortable enough to know that there is somebody. And I don't know how I'm not saying they see me as some kind of special, you know, person on some pedestal, but my thought is that I just need you to know the truth. Now, my challenge has been the settings that I have been in traditionally have not really allowed for that. So that facade or that image or that Lisa R that people know or they believe they know, the Medina Mom Lisa R, the DI Lisa R, the Dean of Girls Lisa R, they don't know the other one. And because that has been my life, which is another thing I did, I buried myself in work because I did not want to think. I, for years, had nightmares, so I did not want to go to sleep. People would be giving me fist pumps about how long I could stay up. They don't even know.
I bear witness to the nightmares and the no sleeping.
I programmed myself not to go to sleep because of the nightmares. I would be screaming and crying and hollering in the middle of the night. I remember when we lived together for a time, and I remember her coming in and basically, you know, when she had to, telling me to shut up. But I could not. I would just have.
I was going through my own stuff. I'm homeless, sleeping on her floor. She in there.
You can't be having those bird outs and stuff. I mean, it was not like I had planned it. But
I said, Lisa, you cannot be doing that.
You know, so whatever it took, you know, maybe that helped me tone it down. But my point is, beloved panelists and those who are listening, we have to be able to try to be a healing for one another through our testimonies. Allah is real. When I started, and the minister is not, he didn't just start saying it, but when I start paying attention to him say, Allah did not come here to destroy us.
Come on.
That he came to save us. He came 9,000 miles to find us. I had to start saying those things to myself. I could no longer say except for me. You know, so I think that those types of that energy, I take it in the street. It's, and again, it's so easy for me to be me and to talk about me in the street with the people that don't really know me personally, because my story for them is like salvation for them. If you went through this, they're not thinking about, oh, but I thought you had the teachers.
But your story is salvation for everybody. You and Sister Anissa.
I don't know that. I don't know.
Well,
and I'm open to
I'm telling you that it is. And I'm sure people can put in the chat how they feel. And I tell Sister Kenya all the time, I want to do things so that she and other sisters behind me don't have to go through what I went through. If it's nothing else but just skipping a few steps. And so go ahead, Sister Anissa.
No, I was going to say, that's the main reason why I do what I do, because I have experienced homelessness, and I'm talking about sleeping downtown on Skid Row on the nickel in the cardboard box, homeless. Drug addiction, trying to navigate my way through a complicated system that's supposed to be a place of resource and refuge for the people, but it's nothing but it's organized to be disorganized and complicated. And I don't want anyone to experience what I have experienced in life if it can be avoided. We do have to have a greater sense of sisterhood, especially to help these young women that are coming behind us. And
Right.
for me and to me, as an advocate, it goes beyond just the effective listening and the shoulder to cry on and the advice. I'm more down with recreating an entire system, because, excuse my language, the one that we have that's in existence now, as that big mama them used to say, ain't hitting a lick at a stick. It's not worth anything. It's not worth the paper it's printed on, and it does nothing for the people. That's why whatever it is,
let me understand.
Social service systems.
Social services, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Because one thing that I have learned in my professional life is that you can't fix a health problem without trying to help with the social problem, because they go hand in hand, like a hand in glove, or like peanut butter and jelly. You have to be able to fix them both simultaneously in order to recreate a new environment for that person. They have to first understand that there's something, okay, I am tired of being like this, but what I'm not tired, but I don't want to go through the struggle of trying to help myself come out of it. And that's at the root of why sometimes the challenges that for the work that we all do is very great, because you can be tired of the situation, but how tired are you? You have to be willing to do the work, because whatever program that Sister Lisa has in place, the program that you have, Sandra or Kenya or myself, it will work, but you got to be willing to do the work in order for it to work well for you in your life. But the looking at yourself in the mirror, it really helps in to challenge yourself. The greatest challenge that I ever had was facing my abuser, and challenge, basically, if it had been back in medieval times, I challenged him to a duel. Bruh, I can't do this no more. So this is what's getting ready to happen. We getting ready to fight. You call on your God, I'm gonna call on mine, but somebody's gonna die here today, and it ain't gonna be me, so let's get it on. And from that day forward, he has not bothered me. He leaves me alone. And it's like, damn, if that's all it took, how come I didn't do this a long time ago, right? So it's like,
know to do it. You didn't have the confidence to do it. And I want to say that until we get to the point where we can revamp this system, I want to encourage us. Sister Colliday Farrakhan and I have a saying where we say we believe in the sisterhood. And we can all be greater helpers if we believe in the sisterhood and we come to one another. If Sister Lisa needs to squeeze my hand while she talks about something, then I want to be that hand she could squeeze. If Sister Kenya needs somebody to grab her in the shoulders and say, Kenya, wake up, do X, Y, and Z, I want to be that person. Or whatever's needed, Sister Anissa, to be that sister to one another. Because the chances of us revamping a system designed by people who don't have our best interests at heart I don't believe it's going to happen. But what can we do?
We can be sisters.
We can be sisters. We can be supportive. We can be sisters and brothers to one another. And we can think about what it is that we can do to add value to one another's lives. And I want to say something for myself, something that I say that I said all the time, and I have to read it because if I say it from memory, I'll cry, and I ain't trying to cry today. I got my eyeliner and stuff on, and I'm not gonna let you, Sister Lisa, make me cry, or Sister Kenya, or you, Sister Lisa, not today. But Psalms 23 is something that I say all the time. I have it written on notes throughout my house.
Shepherd.
There you go. The Lord
And
is
I
my
shall not
shepherd,
want.
I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Yes.
Listen, we are all walking through the volume of the book, each and every one of us. And so we have to find a way to enjoin one another to Allah, to be there for one another, to support one another in our relationships, both brothers and sisters, but to believe in the sisterhood. To me, it's one of the most powerful tools that we had. I said this last week when I was on the relationship talks webinar with Sister Katrina. I said, you know, when I was facing the city council and we spent 4 days not sleeping, a lot of people thought that the lady just withdrew the ordinance for the Chicago Black House Museum. She didn't just withdraw it. We went to work 4 or 5 days in a row, non-sleeping. But you know who was there with me? My sisters. My sisters who have been with me for the longest. Sister Lisa was on one side, Sister Aletha was on the other side, and Sister Sadia was down south, and we went to work. We stayed up. We posted, we called, we made phone calls nonstop all day. And in that, we had to express our love for the teachings. We had to explain who the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was. We had to talk about why we're committed to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And in doing for self and getting out there in the community, I felt so strengthened in my faith, because now I get a chance to show Allah's power. Allah said he came to make himself known. And what greater privilege is it than for us to make himself known through doing the work, and through doing the work on ourselves, and through improving ourselves. So that's got to be our goal. At the end of the day, it's probably not too many other things that's going to work, but we got to be about our business of making Allah known. That's what he came here for. So I want to give you all closing remarks, and then I'm going to have Sister Kenya or Sister Lisa, I know one of you all have it, put some phone numbers in the chat, or the websites, if you don't mind, Sister Kenya, where people can call, where they can go to. Give the national MGT captain's phone number if there's people that feel comfortable going that route. But the bottom line is believe in the sisterhood and figure out what we got to do to help Allah make himself known. And so if you on Skid Row right now, rock bottom, the nickel, if you're in a cardboard box, if you getting beat up or whatever right now, pull you to the best of your ability, tell somebody so that we can help you, so that we can reach out to you and pull you up and make Allah's word bond. Because at the end of the day, when you see these mighty warriors that are on here, let me tell you something. There's not a sister on this panel right here that you want to come up against, because we face things that are probably bigger than what you could even possibly imagine. And Allah has made himself known in our lives over and over and over again. So I salute each and every one of you. I salute and love you, Sister Anissa. I salute and love you, Sister Lisa. I salute and love you, Sister Kenya.
Love
And,
you too, sis.
Sister Anissa, we'll start with you. Just give a couple minutes. I don't want to keep people too long. I just want them to feel the spirit. So when they see your companies out there, put your company name out there and what you're doing. Sister Kenya has put in the chat box some of the things, resources. Sister Kenya, did you put the National MGT Captain Office number in there?
No,
okay,
ma'am.
she's going to
the number.
Okay, she's getting there. Okay, Sister Anissa, couple minutes, and then give the name of your company and how people can learn more about what you do if they want to work with you or seek your services and help. Any
Yes,
closing
ma'am.
remarks?
I find comfort, or I found comfort in Proverbs 31, where it
Yeah.
asks, who can find a virtuous woman, for her price is far above rubies. And verse 20 is the epitome of this symposium, where it says, she stretches out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. That's the sisterhood. And I want to give praise and thanks to Sister Kimberly Renee Muhammad for being my sister, because I went to her in confidence and told somebody for the very first time what I was going through. And she dined me out to the first officer. No, I'm just saying. I'm saying that jokingly, because it's kind of like, you told me. She said yes, because she didn't want something to happen to me.
That's right. That's
and
right.
the thing is that she had went through it and had not told anybody. And I'm not going to tell her story, but she went through something worse than what I had went through. And she did not want that to happen to me. And that is what sisterhood is all about. It's not about snitching. It's about loving somebody that looks like you. We have to, that we are a sisterhood. And that's what Sisters for Life is all about. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is. None of that matters. We are co-creators with God, and I'm your sister, you're my sister, and we are Sisters for Life.
That's the name of your company, Sisters for Life?
That's the name of my nonprofit. My company that's advertised in the business directory is called Anessence Consulting. And we do domestic violence counseling. And if you want to just call and talk to me, my number is 323-921-5658. Text me and let me know that you heard this webcast, and I'll answer. But we have to be there, and I'm there for you because I love you, and we are all in this together. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Sister Lisa, before you talk, please, Sister Lisa. And I know that this has been, I'm just so proud of you. I really am.
Don't start. Look.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But you got to let me say it because it's how I feel. Is it okay, please?
I'm going to turn my camera off.
You can turn your camera off because I'm just so proud of you, because I know you, and you know, for years, and we've been sisters for a long time, and I'm so grateful to you and to your family.
Yes, ma'am.
She's gonna shut me off. I'm so grateful to you and to your family, sis, because when you were going through all of this, you was teaching me. And so that's why when I saw you go through things, I went hard to be there for you, because you didn't have to be that way. You could have been depressed. You never treated me badly. You were there. And you know what we've been through. You were there when I had my life threatening because I was moving to Chicago. You were there. And so I'm just proud of you, and I'm pushing you right now because I want the world to see this jewel and this diamond that I know that you are. Because if don't nobody else know it, I know it. And anybody out there, look, if y'all love me, you gotta love Sister Lisa. I know she ain't gonna play with you. She may not cut no cards with you, but she put me through, her and her family put me through Muhammad's boot camp. And when I tell you there's not a lot of believers out there that will do that, I'm talking about every single day. When I got off work, I went straight to their house and they taught me every day, day and night, night and day, every single day. And they didn't have to do that. And so I love you. I'm just so proud of you, sis.
To Allah.
And I can't wait for you to give me that smile and we can laugh at stuff and act silly. Look, we done been through some stuff. We tell these stories one day, but we was on a bean pie detail and got shot at. We done been through some stuff in the name of Allah, but that's all right because Allah knows that, you know, we here, we gonna soldier it out. But there's my smile. So I'm gonna let you give your closing remarks and your name of your company and anything that you want to say.
Okay, so I'm gonna get you for that because I was doing good. Trying to keep my you got Kenya on here looking at me like I'm a punk and stuff. But anyway,
they know you a punk.
You know, she just threw that. I'm gonna get you back. You know, she still got, you got work to do, Lisa. No, I'm just
Go
teasing.
ahead, Kenya. Go ahead, Kenya.
No, I said this is the strongest I've seen you. There's strength in that level of vulnerability to be able to just be you. So go ahead.
All praises due to Allah. All I can say is all praises due to Allah. I did want to say that you mentioned at the top of the show or top of the program about some of the challenges that people of faith have. And I wanted to just share that there is actually an entire movement. This is kind of an unfortunate thing, but it's fortunate for those who are suffering. There's an entire movement that deals with domestic violence in faith, because there are a lot of misguided people in faith. And I'm not talking about Islam. I'm not talking about just Islam. I'm not going to lie and say there's no challenges and no violence or no, I guess, personal relationship violence that exists there. So anyone who knows someone who is in any type of faith home, whether you are a Christian, a Jehovah's Witness, a Jew, a Buddhist, or whatever you proclaim to be, unfortunately, there probably exists some domestic violence or some type of abuse or pain that mainly the women are suffering. And because of the stigma that is attached to that, and because of the direct connection often sometimes to people in leadership in some of these organizations, those women suffer in silence. So they have to have an advocacy or an advocate that will help them to understand their divinity, their purpose, their worth, their value, and actually to strengthen us so that we can stand strong and be courageous enough and know that there is only one God. By whatever name you call him, it's one God. So a lot of what we go through is that after we become so disconnected from the reality of the true and living God, we start making other things, other people, other situations, things in our mind become gods. And once we get tied up into that spiral, we're really beating ourselves up. And we think that God is doing it, but it is us. And it's not until we come back into our true selves that we begin. It's not quick. I'll speak for myself. It's not quick. It's not immediate. It's a process. The other thing I wanted to share is that I didn't want to end without saying I did have an opportunity to reconnect with my former husband, who was just an abuser. That's what he did. But Sister Nisa mentioned about the threats, and one threat that my ex-husband made, it was similar to what you mentioned, is that he said, I bet not ever, this is while he was locked up, I bet not ever seek to divorce him. I bet not ever seek to develop any other relationship with another man. And I bet not ever have a child, because if I did, he would have me killed. Not necessarily he would do it, because, you locked up. So I lived with that for so long, and then a lot of things happen. And sometimes I think about maybe that's why certain things happen in my life as it relates to having children.
Right.
So what happened really quick, when he got out after a long number of years, And he said he wanted to see my daughter. Now, it was the scariest thing. I'm grown, married, got a daughter, even though she was a little lap baby. In my mind, I was like, he's going to try to kill me. So I talked to my parents, who did not know anything about the abuse. And I know they were like, why are you asking us, can he come and see you and the baby? If you want to. But I made sure that I was not by myself. And I asked my husband if it was okay. And I remember the day we saw each other, I was gripping her so hard. I was really still frightened because I was remembering what he said. And so those types of things, that's why I say it's a process.
Lisa, how many years was it? How many years did he serve?
Wow. 20. He was given 60 though. So I got married like way young.
Yeah, I remember.
And, but he was given 60. And the other part of it was I helped get him out, which was the last part I wanted to
I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that not only were you abused, you got him out.
But I'm gonna tell you why. Not that I have to really explain it, but I started coming back into myself. And according to the teachings of Master Fard Muhammad, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, there is nothing that's unredeemable except disbelief in Allah. So even though I thought about the blows and all of the things, it was not for me to say you should rot in there forever, knowing I had the ability to assist. So though it was difficult, though I was scared, I worked hard. I always laugh about being an unlicensed attorney, because since I went to school for law and I had been with him so long, and he had spent probably more time in the system than in his whole life, because that's just what he did. I was accustomed to him coming in and getting out and all that. So this time when he got that large, what they call bit, I felt like it was my fault because I said, Allah is gonna get you. And so when I felt like Allah got him, I felt obligated to do what I had to do. Prior to that though, when I divorced him, I was still an angry, you know what? And I went to that prison and I slammed them papers down and said, now what? Which was so inappropriate, so out of character, but I was still living in anger, and I was all about revenge. And once I got away from him, as Sister said, when you're further away I got away from him, the closer I got back to my God. And I said, I got to do the right thing. So that's been many, many years. Of course, we don't communicate now, but I
remember you working hard to free him, and I don't know what, we went to Kinko's to copy some papers, and I was driving like, now why are we getting him out again?
It was I just felt like it was the right thing to do. But anyway, so my business is called, from the flyer you saw, STS Plus Consulting. It started off as STS because at one time it was just for sisters, and it was sister to sister. But as I went through so many trials in my life, I felt like I needed to add other things to what I wanted to consult about and really just share about and guide and coach and offer services. So instead of listing 12,000 things, I just made an acronym, put a comma, and put the word plus. So it's sister to sister first, plus whatever else I need to do. One particular program up under it that I'm starting to do more with is called Embrace. And Embrace is also an acronym, and it stands for Empowering Minds, Building Resilience, and Cultivating Excellence. And each of those first two letters, there are different programs and different initiatives and thrusts that fall under them. And it's really just a manifestation of what Allah has blessed me to learn in my life, blessed me to do in these years I've been on this earth. And so I'm just sharing. I don't have a product. It ain't tangible. It's me. And I am who I am. I'm Lisa R. Muhammad, member of the Nation of Islam, follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
That's right. Yes,
and what I do because of who he has helped to make me become. My parents made me who I am, but he has helped me and is helping me to become who Allah wants me to be. Yeah. So I thank Allah, Sister Sajda. This has been a rough one.
Yeah.
Oh, praises be to
you did
Allah.
So good. Look, be free, my sisters. What I want to do, I'm going to say a couple words, but I want to let Sister Kenya close us out, because this is for her and her constituents and for the sisters. for them to say, hey, whatever I'm going through, it ain't nothing. Your sister's got you.
That's right.
Whatever it is. And that's for any of the other young sisters and brothers out there listening. We got you. We are a family and we support one another. But I just want to say to both of you all, be free, love Allah. I'm so,
Yes.
so proud of both of you all. And Lisa knows me, I'm an intuitive. So I just feel Allah popping out all over every place. And he's just all over each and every one of you. And what you've been through has not been in vain. And Allah would listen, he has made some beautiful and powerful warrior women who, the beautiful thing is, after all you've been through, you all have the most beautiful hearts. It's just palpable. And as I sit here and I'm looking at you all on the square, I just see the palpable pulsation of the beauty of your hearts. And that's what the love of Allah will do for you. So Sister Kenya, I'm gonna let you close us out. Take a couple minutes, close us out, and then we're gonna go and let everybody have a good Saturday evening. Oh, and when Sister Kenya finishes, jump over to Relationship Talks Books with Sister Katrina Muhammad. Okay, she's got a wonderful show, a great book. I know y'all been on here for a minute, but take a little break and go support our sister. Go ahead, Sister Kenya.
Yes, ma'am. Well, first, I want to just thank you three for an amazing conversation. And for all of the listeners, this cannot be the last conversation like this. This was only the beginning. This was just the first conversation to get you introduced to these beautiful sisters, and also this kind of conversation, which we need to have many, many more of going forward. So stay tuned. Stay in connection with Sister Sajda at Mo Today on Instagram, or even Sajda House, and support everything that she's doing and everything that the sisters are doing. And Sister Sajda, make sure that you're putting your comments to panelists and guests, panelists and attendees.
Okay, got it.
Stay tuned to make sure that you can be up to date on more conversations like this. And so I just want to end it by saying to everyone that's listening, there is greatness in all of us. There is God in all of us. And so because of the things that we go through in life, there are things that begin to bog us down and weigh us down, whether that's just bitterness from past situations or hurt, pain, trauma. All of those things are real, and we all experience them from birth on. But I want to say that even with all of our mess, just look at how great we are. Just look at how great we are. So, and just imagine how much further we can be the more that we begin to release those things. So if you look at Sister Anissa and the stories that she told, look how far she has come. If you look at Sister Lisa and all that she's endured, but look how far she's come. And of course, Sister Sajda as well. And know that we all have those capabilities to overcome anything that has happened in us and to us in our lives. And it's never too late to start. Even if there's something that happened 20 years ago that you could tell in the back of your mind is still weighing you down, it's not too late to work on those things, to release it, so that we can truly become our best selves, the best version of ourselves, and really so that we can reflect God in everything that we do. So I want to end with just a quote by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and this is a paraphrasing, but he said that without God, things are impossible, but with God, there is nothing impossible. If you have a love for and a faith in God, then you can try things that people say are impossible and find out that they are quite possible. So those mountains that may be in our lives that we may think we can't overcome, it may be something that we may think was so big that we could never recover from, but don't doubt the God to be able to heal you, to be able to renew you and bring you to somebody that you may have never met before. There may be another version of you that's waiting to just get the floor to shine and thrive. So we've been living, we've been surviving, but you have examples in front of you of people who have been thriving despite all things that we've been through. So let's just get to a point where we're all just thriving and help those around you to get over things that you know you've got over. So with that, I just pray that we can continue to be better servants of our people and be conscious when we're interacting with people to treat people with love, respect, and honor, because you don't know what that could possibly do to trigger some growth or healing in them. So that's all I would like to say, and pray that you have an amazing day. Like she said, go over to the relationships talk with Sister Katrina so that we could just keep this spirit of building and love growing. So
Yes. Thank you all. I love you all. Thank
Love
you
you
so
too,
much.
sis. Assalamu
Love
alaikum.
you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.